Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Peter Abraham. I am a registered nurse with varied experience, but mainly in hospice and palliative care. It is a second career for me as I worked in IT for about 30 years, and I'm currently working toward being a certified death doula. If you're new to this channel, welcome. Thank you for visiting. In this channel, we have discussions that are meant to help my fellow hospice nurses. For those looking at, like myself, I like the idea of becoming a death doula. What does that picture look like? Those that are dealing with chronic illnesses that could become terminal or already are terminal. And topics that are related like grief, anticipatory grief, death, and dying. I'm also a avid, prolific book author, editor, and self-publisher on Amazon KDP. I have numerous books published. My first book ever written is a book on how to do proper documentation for hospice nurses so it meets Medicare compliance. And I'm currently writing a book on how to become a death doula for those who are faced with an interesting question of, I know a course would be in my best interest, but right now I'm not able to be in a financial position to afford a course. I wanted to go on to an exploratory journey to get more than what's available out there freely on the internet. I want some more guidance on that. Let me read a book. And then maybe for those even taking courses, this book might be a supplement. So that's how I view my books. I pick very specific topics and try to stay on focus with them. Now, in terms of my own journey, before I go too much further, um, I want to share with you, as I have in previous episodes, and like on Monday of this week, I did my formal interview with Julie Atkinson. She's putting together a virtual summit of 28 expert nurses from around the world uh, sharing their wisdom. I was honored to be one of the 28. I felt that was a big honor. So I had an opportunity to talk to Julie. And one of her questions, which is very common to be heard as a palliative and hospice care nurse, I'm sure death doulas hear it too. How can you deal with death and dying all the time and not be a an emotional wreck? And for me, the answer is going to be gratitude. Every single day of your life, when you wake up or through the day, what are you grateful for? Now, for me, in terms of like looking at the last episode, Monday afternoon, I had that interview with Julie Atkinson. Uh, Anna Adams, who is the founder of the International Doula Life Movement, invited me to follow along on one of the courses. Uh, we're working to see if maybe I would be a fit to be a part-time instructor for certain courses for her. I'm amazed. I'm like blown away from this. I wasn't sure what to expect. Uh, I tend to have a harsh lens and high standards. And I'm like, wow, Anna really and Pam Carter and her team really outdid themselves for this. And you'll hear that as once we get into the progress of the book. But I've been tagging along on some of the classes. And so I'm very grateful for that. I'm still grateful that the books, since I reduced the price for Nursing Week, are still selling. I'm actually a little bit surprised yesterday and today it actually slowed down because it was doing like 30 a day. The one day was 43. But God is always good, so it's going to work out. So let me give you a progress report before we go over the overview. So this past weekend, one of the people I've connected locally here in Kentucky, I don't have full permission for disclosure, but I'll just use her first name, Camille. She's looking at starting a place where people can be buried in a more natural setting. And so she's working, like, this is the small business development group out in this area did an amazing job a couple weeks ago. And not only did I get a free consult for an hour with a tax advisor looking at the business structures that I talked about in the previous episode, but we got some networking opportunities. And so part of this is networking. And so, wow, there's this opportunity there to work together on that. And here I formed, she was very encouraging. She went and did her own LLC instead of going through Northwest, oh my word, Northwest. I'm forgetting the one word that I think begins with in our registered agents. Instead of going with Northwest registered agents or these other online services, and granted, there are some benefits like hiding where you're located. But after prayer and consulting with my wife and talking about it and praying, we decided, let's go do this. And then it's just $40 to the Kentucky state. And to do it just to make sure I'm going to be filing the appropriate papers at the appropriate times, and putting on a watch list for the BOI. If you prior to the current administration, the former administration was trying to put a lens on small business under the microscope. Uh, I don't want to turn this into a political debate, but like really, so instead of like you get the speech of tax the rich and everything else, but instead of putting the lens on the ultra big and the ultra rich, they were putting the lens on the very small businesses. And so if you started a business, there was a federal requirement with hefty fines to file a BOI report. But right now it's on hold. So there's actually a way to watch website pages. And so I'm like watching that page, so to speak, on an electronic basis, that if that ever turns on a dime and I need to file, well, then I file. So I created, my wife and I would create a Compassion Crossing LLC that goes over the website compassioncrossing.info. That's one of the reasons we picked that name for the LLC. That is a for-profit business, and we may end up doing the doula service. I say we, it's my wife and I, but I'm going to be the one doing the service. But and I'm thankful for my wife's support. But we formed the LLC. But my long-term goal, when I say long-term, I'm hoping that this happens this year, God willing, is to have a 501c3. This is going to be under a different name. That's going to be the parent company. That is where I want the consumer to deal with. The 501c3 will 1099 me on a part-time basis. I'm not going to be an employee per se. And it's not going to be to make, I'm weird. Money matters, but not to that degree. They're going to contract me at a lesser rate than what the consumer is paying, and I might be doing pro bono, especially in the beginning. But that gives a way to provide layers of protection. This is legal protection, and I'm not giving legal advice. This is advice that was given to me. Get your own legal advice. But I was told that if you want to have the ultimate legal protection, you want to have your 50, for those going the charitable route, your 501c, and then umbrella over the LLC. And again, I could have just did the LLC and not do, but again, I want to do donations. I want to do sliding scale in the most tax efficient manner, because I'm not sure how to word things. I'm better in writing, but I don't know anyone who says, I want to pay more taxes. I believe there are those, I want to pay my fair share, but you don't want to pay more than you have to. So that's why you do want to seek a tax accountant for your own situation as to what's the best route for you to take, so that you're covering your family and your needs in the most protected manner. So in my case, because I want to create a legacy, because I turned 62 this month, and I don't envision me running this to the grave, no pun intended, because I am going to die. But as I'm working in this business, if the area that I'm at, I run into hospice nurses, registered nurses, other death doulas with the LLC as the umbrella. That umbrella might be that they start working underneath, like on the 1099, like my LLC would be, our LLC would be, and maybe they would be a fit to take over the nonprofit after I'm gone. And just I don't know how things will work. I'm praying and having faith, and I'm working through things in terms of documenting what's a service offering going to be, creating a business plan, creating a marketing plan. I worked on oh wow, did I press my once we get more finalized, I don't want to show now because um, even though you could do the nonprofit as long as the name's not taken in Kentucky, right now the name that my wife and I worked out is not in use by anyone. And maybe that'll change between now and by the time we do the nonprofit. But if I can snag that name, so to speak, before anyone has it at all, um, it's just call it. It's just it's a Peter thing. I'm weird when it comes to numbers and three sevens, nines, etc. Part of my autistic weirdness. Don't mind me on my insanity part. Uh, anyway, so we're going through that. I'm working and praying for a third member. There's somebody that I reached out to that I believe would be a good fit, but he's doing the right thing and discussing it with his wife, and they're both praying about it. Um, because as an entry level, and I'm being transparent with you, an entry level nonprofit, the members aren't going to get paid. There's going to be three members: my wife, myself, and the gentleman that I asked. We're not going to get paid. Now, if I go doula work and I 1099 me, for example, and yes, I'll get paid, but my wife's not going to get paid. The other member won't get paid, and we were told by the tax accountant if the this ever goes back to right now, the IRS is operating under the past two administrations. Uh, the IRS is different than under the President Obama's administration, where they had the magnifying glass, and it was like, gee, if you had one member getting paid, and the other member was a wife or a husband, they were like partners, and then you had another member that was independent. You really need four members in that case. So again, this is part of getting your own tax advice, your own insurance advice, and so on and so forth. But we're going down the route where, if this works out, my wife and I will pay for all of the legal fees that are involved, the insurances and everything else. We just need the third member, and I want to say name only because I want to be able to go to my third member and say, this is the service offering, and this is my intended pricing. And potentially even bring that up. Maybe we go beyond three and not an unofficial fourth. I don't know, because my heart is in this to do this right, because we are dealing with people who are dying. And while I don't believe that it's so serious that we can't have laughter. I still remember that Greg, who asked me to kill him, I didn't. And then just the evening before he died, when I'm going to him as a hospice nurse and saying, family around, so like he's in and out of consciousness, he's finally in when I'm going. I said, Greg, you can go now. And he looks up in a hoarse voice. I want to see the end of the game that he was watching. And the moment those words left his mouth, he burst out laughing. I burst out laughing, and I'm like thinking, I wonder what, because I never told the family he asked me to kill him. But death doesn't have to be the crying and the sobbing and the solemn. It could be a joyous occasion. But it is a serious occasion where I don't want anybody to feel like they've not received the value. So where I'm going to stop right here and lead into is, I am writing this book that I'm hoping to have published either by the end of this week or sometime next week, you'll hear me talk about, I may break this book into part 1, 2, or part 3. 3 would be the worst case scenario, mainly because when I take the book that is currently uh, almost 290 pages with 18 chapters, I'm having 22 chapters planned plus appendices. That's an ebook format right now. If I go to put it in a 6x9 format, this is one of my most comprehensive books I've written, 535 pages. It, even when I price this inexpensively on Amazon, it's still a hefty dollar amount, and I want to make this within reach of those having a desire to be a death doula. So once I get done with all 22 chapters and the appendices, then I'll take it into the my paperback template after I did my grammar and editor checks, and how many pages, and then Amazon has a pricing estimator for the print costs, and I'll work through that. And if it does get broken up into part 1 and part 2, they'll be published extremely close back to back, and I'll announce it on this channel. But before I go too far, let me run that stream, and then afterwards we'll have the outro, and thank you. As we travel down the road of becoming a death doula, I just wanted to share some progress on the book I'm writing. It may end up being book 1, part 1 of a book, and part 2. But for right now, I'm working on completing everything, and then I'll decide based on what's going to help with pricing, because Amazon KDP charges based on how many pages. So the more pages, let's say we go 6x9, which is what format I'm hoping to get this in. If it's beyond a certain number of pages, it becomes almost price inhibitive if I want to have this at a very reasonable price for those looking at becoming a death doula, with the understanding this book does not, I repeat, does not replace a course. But for those who like, gee, I can't afford a course yet, or maybe I need something to supplement the course that you're getting that maybe doesn't cover certain topics, that's where this book is meant to fill in the gap. So I just want to go over the outline for the book of right now, planning 22 chapters and a number of appendices. But I have this broken down in terms of the chapter. There's part 1, understanding the role. Part 2, preparing to become one. Part 3, starting your actual death doula business. I did a video a couple days ago about the business formation and structure. This book also goes into financial setup, developing your own service offering, guidelines for pricing. And at the end of the day, you're going to price it for what works best for you. Like in this book, there's going to be a number of examples where your lower end is going to be at $50 an hour. But as I look at starting in Central Kentucky, I'm looking at personally going the $25 an hour route, with in some cases doing pro bono. Marketing and growing your practice. Um, there are arguments for, do you really need a business plan? But if you are ever going to take this the full length that you can, it's best to, even if it's only a handful of pages, executive summary 1 page, company description and market analysis might be a page. You can have a very small business plan that you could present if you want to get loans or go for funding. Or in my case, I wanted to start a 501c3, looking at grants. Business and marketing basics, building your online presence, community outreach, education and marketing. That is beyond key. I shared with a few episodes ago a draft workshop, seminar, presentation, whatever words you want to use to describe, going out there in public and helping demystify death and dying. Working with clients, what about the initial consultation? Looking at in-person versus virtual. There are telehealth death doulas out there from a perspective. I've been doing that for free for several clients now. Creating a personalized care plan. One thing here, I'm probably what you're seeing is draft format, so just forewarning. I actually wrote chapter 17 and 18 today. I may come back to 17 because I'm thinking of, do I share a sample plan? And this is where I'm going to do a twist that's going to be very different from if I go and do this. It'll be very different from nursing care plans. So nursing care plans, you have a problem statement, you have a goal, and you have interventions. We're not nurses, we're not medical personnel. And while it's not bad to go down that route, but I like the keep it simple and smile. To me, KISS is not, I like the kinder approach, keep it simple and smile. It's our patients, our power of attorneys, they have goals, they have wishes and desires. And then how are we going to achieve them? I'm not going to put in a negative statement of a problem, me personally, not telling you how to do your business. Supporting the dying process, supporting the family. And then towards the end, I've yet to get into chapter 19 and the remaining chapters, but specialized services. I was very pleased to see, I just did small amount of research into Kentucky burial, and they allow green. Woo! I'm excited about this. I'm just, the more I dig into Death Doula, I went in a little bit overwhelmed, a little bit not sure. And while I'm still praying to God, is this the right path for me? The more I get in deeper, it's like I'm excited. I'm passionate about this. Scaling your practice, self-care, and then appendices, which will probably grow, but that's right now what's planned for right now. And again, I may at the end of the day, so to speak, uh, make a decision to break this apart into two, no more than three separate books. I know there's an argument, Peter, I just want to buy one thing versus two or three. But when I look at print sizes for the books, I'm faced with, do I want to do a 535 page book where my cost from Amazon, the print cost is so high, and I do want to make fair royalties, but I want to keep it reasonable for what I charge the public. So this is copyrighted material right now dedicated to my wife. I may add other dedications before we're done. This is the ebook format. Let me just switch over to this so it's just easier to read. And I'm not going to go over every chapter. I just want to dive in. I'm going to dive into I'll just go to, I'm almost tempted to go education and training, but let me speak on that without going into the actual chapter. So I've been uh, working with Anna Adams, who's the founder and main person, along with Pam Carter, for the International Doula Life Movement um, course program. And I am beyond amazed and flabbergasted in a nice way for the value of her course material. And she is one of those organizations that strongly believes in continuing education credits that they give for free if you've taken their course. That's a tremendous value. And on top of that, in order to maintain certification, they want you to do 12 continuing education credits a year and then renew your certification every 2. I was in shock. $10 to recertify, $5 for the PDF file, so $15 every 2 years. I know in a previous episode I said don't compare nursing school. But as a nurse, I have to renew my license. That uh, Granted, you may want to argue you wish it was longer than 2 years, but given that the continuing education credits are free, wow. International doula life movement, well done in that regard. But let me just get into, I'm just trying to figure out what might just be. I want to keep this a short video. Let me deal with what I've been struggling with, the developing your core service offering. So I'm going to just jump in on that. Ebook, you can jump on the print version. It's going to be page numbers and you're going to be paging down. But and if you see any red, I'm not a fan where you can't tell Grammarly. I do have the pro version. Like it's advanced care planning. It wants to change it and it wants to change common. So please ignore some of the blue as I do. But your core services that most death doulas offer, you don't have to in your own practice. So a couple weeks ago, I was at a 4-hour webinar where 3.5 hours was training. Last half hour to an hour was a sales pitch for their course. But the training was good. But there were people who were I don't want to use the word panicking, but they were, I don't know if I could do that. I don't, and even with me, I don't know, because I'm not great at nighttime driving anymore as I get older. Uh, I don't know, could I do death visuals? Could I do this and could I do that? You determine what you're comfortable offering. That's one of the beauties of becoming a death doula. So many of them do get into advanced care planning. Now, you're not a lawyer, just like you're not a medical support personnel, and there are doulas who do partner with lawyers. But living wills could be as simple as oh my word, uh, 5 wishes document. That's only a handful of dollars out there. I'm not trying to make light for some of you who are on tight budgets. But here, like in the state of Kentucky, they give you a PDF file that you can download, and then you do need to go through it before you meet with your client and understand all the different parameters. And that's one of the benefits of taking courses, because they go over that with you. But if you're on a tight, part of the reason for the book is, I can't afford a course right now. But you can go out there and work through this, and there's many sources for working through that. And my passion is writing books. So I do have a book, Beyond the Living Will, Creating Effective Advanced Directives, that goes over thorough guidance on filling out these forms, not specific to a particular state. A lot of doulas provide comfort care education for the family. And again, this is, so much can be done that's non-medically oriented. So you're complementing what hospice and palliative care do. I do have another book out there, Understanding Breathing at the End of Life, because a lot of families towards the end panic if their loved one is having, I've heard it from different perspectives. Is it Cheyne-Stokes or Cheyenne-Stokes? Small breathing, different ways to pronounce the breathing patterns. But my book on understanding breathing patterns, not everything is with pain or suffering or requiring oxygen. You don't have to buy the other books. I'm just putting it out there. A lot of them do legacy projects and life reviews. Uh, I am planning on, not sure what order it will be in, but I will be writing a book on legacy project ideas, doing case studies and giving different ideas for legacy studies. I've been involved in a number of them as a hospice and palliative care nurse. But this, in the book itself here, gives you some ideas. Vigil planning and support. So I mentioned I don't know if I could actually do vigils. I've been really praying about that. I've come to the conclusion, if I'm careful on my service area, I can. But you know what else? For those who, let's say, I can't be there for while they're dying, and I'm not saying that you're afraid of dying, but just maybe it's a timing perspective. Well, you can help plan and support. What do they want? during this visual, before the patient even gets to that point of where they're transitioning and actively dying, what do they desire? Or if the patient's not in that position to communicate that with you, what does the power of attorney or the family spokesperson say? And you can create a plan for that so that everyone's in sync for what they do. And to give you an example of that is in hospice, I've served many veterans. And when I worked for Lysong Hospice, they had a way of, like, a number of the veterans wanted the American flag over the body. So instead of like just having the body go out on a stretcher or the body go in like putting on a blanket of different colors or white, they wanted the American flag to be, and there's actually a ceremony that goes involved with that. And by having that in writing, nobody's scrambling at the last minute, like you're getting everything ready long before. I mentioned another book I wrote, The Whispers of Time, just goes over the physical changes, which, by the way, chapter 3 in this book does, I'm going to talk myself out of a sale. I will go into far more detail in chapter 3 of this book than the whole book, Whispers of Time. Whisper of Time does have benefit in terms of knowing the velocity of change and being able to prognose, along with the book, The Art of Hospice Prognosis. Those two books kind of go hand in hand. But from the non-medical end, if you wanted to skip that, read chapter 3 of this book that we're talking about. It is the most detailed oriented in steps. So it's not like slam. Take your time reading it, read it multiple times. And I kept it simple and smile approach. Some doulas offer after-death guidance. And then this gets into service packages. So let me just finish through this chapter so you get to see. And again, this is in draft format. I do have chapter 4, which is the education and continuing education and recertification. I actually asked Anna Adams of the International Doula Life Movement if she doesn't mind looking it over, because I do mention her course along with several other providers out there, just to see, did I miss anything? Do I have it right? She's been doing this a lot longer than I have. I may be involving others. And by the way, if you're looking at this and saying, Peter, I don't mind reviewing a chapter for you, as long as you're understanding it is copyrighted material, ask for permission if you want to incorporate it in something. You might be surprised. I might say yes, depending on what your plans are, but at least show the politeness of asking. Different, anticipatory grief can be a package. Specialized grief coaching, number of doulas out there. Some death doulas get involved in supporting diverse communities. Cultural religious specialties. Some get very creative. I'm really doing the research on this. There's people out there that actually schedule live, in person. Let's do a grief walk out in nature. I participated in a class this past Monday with the International Doula Life Movement, and somebody asked, like, Peter, how do you ground yourself? I'm an introvert. This is my office, home office, that this is in. And even though I really enjoy being in a controlled environment, maybe that's my neurodiversity with autism or being an introvert. But I'll actually, when it's nice out, I'll go out for a walk. Today it was nice out. I'm doing a prayer walk out in the backyard for close to an hour. Just letting the sun beat on my back, and I'll take the dogs on a walk, and just getting out there. But there's a lot of stuff that can be done there. So by the way, if you can't see on the bottom here, and I've only have 18 chapters drafted, we're looking at 283 pages in the ebook format. When I convert this to the paperback 6x9, where the margins and the gutters, that can quickly bloom to 300 to 400 pages or more. Let me just try to get through that. Finally, we're coming down with the end of the chapter. And I ended every chapter with reflection questions. So I'm going to stop here. This does go over pricing, including urban. I mentioned in central Kentucky, I'm looking at $25 an hour. I may end up changing it to 50. Um, I'm trying in prayer to find a third person to start a nonprofit, and we'll look at how we might structure the pricing. And they may come back and say, Peter, you really need to, because you're going to do sliding scale income and pro bono work, you may want to go towards the $100 an hour, knowing that the majority is going to be around the $25 mark. I don't know. As you're watching, if I don't have all the answers, but I don't mind brainstorming with people. So feel free to comment. But that's it for this episode. And look for the outro. Thank you. Okay, thank you so much for watching that. If you like what you're seeing, please like. That does help the YouTube algorithm. If you have any questions, whether it be on hospice and palliative care, being a holistic nurse, which looks at mind, body, spirit, and soul, which is my practice as a hospice nurse, and I hope to take it into being a doula, or anything about becoming a doula. In the thumbnail, what you saw there, that's Compassion Crossing LLC's Facebook cover. And you'll see the county that I'm planning on providing service. I may end up providing service to surrounding counties, but we will see over time. I really love what I do. I love helping people. I love trying to participate and help people grow. I'll leave it here. Thank you so much for your time, and God bless.